I'm Kristen Andre, founder and chief strategist of Andre Consulting Group. I founded my company almost 10 years ago because I love helping people not only succeed, but thrive in their careers and their lives. So many times I meet amazing people who have so much more potential than what they're utilizing. As I engage with them, there seems to be a common theme: the limits they place on themselves. Throughout this podcast series, we're going to visit some incredible people who have created more intentional lives for themselves, those who've had that no limits moment where they chose to grow and they put things in motion to help them do so. We will focus on how you can break through limits. We will equip you with strategies to help you lead a more intentional life, and we will have a lot of fun along the way. So let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the No Limits with Kristen Andre podcast. We are here today with Cokie Berenyi, who is an author, a speaker, and the engineer of The Perfect Day. So we are super excited to have Cokie with us today. So good morning / afternoon to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Kristen, for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Yes, and pardon me being in my home away from home.
The home office, car office.
I do wear many hats, many businesses and nonprofits alike. But one of the side hustles that most people don't know about is that I am a mommy Uber. So I live in my car.
The mommy, I frequently said that. I'm waiting for somebody to come and ask me to invest in a safe background check Uber for kids that could just do drop off and pick up. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I've got the whole plan. I've got the whole plan and revenue model all mapped out.
Sign me up. I will invest. So
yes.
That's good. Well, thank you.
I am in the car today. I do wish I was in Atlanta. With you, but I'm happy to be on the show. I appreciate it.
Well, no, I appreciate you being here, and we will catch up next time you're in Hotlanta. But
yes.
Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, because like you mentioned, you do a lot. You've got got a few businesses. You've got a great history in finance, and I want to hear about that. And I also want to hear about what made you decide to engineer the perfect day. Because I've got your book, and it's awesome, and it's just such a neat concept that I think is so valuable to everybody. So tell us a little bit about kind of how you got to where you are and what you're doing now.
Thank you. Thanks. I love telling the story of the working title of Perfect Day. So Perfect Day was just published January of this year. Mm-hmm. So glad you've got a copy. It was really the birthing of probably maybe a 10-year baby, and recently I've been saying maybe it was a 2 or 3 year baby. It's really actually been percolating much longer than that. And I love sharing that the working title of the book was I Managed in Finance So I Wouldn't Get Screwed.
Oh, wow.
Because that's really the genesis of the book. My background is in finance and investments. And the truth is my mother looked at me at 7 years old, and she looked me square in the face and said, "Don't ever count on anyone to ever take care of you." Really? So fast forward 11 years, I find myself in college and having to declare a major. My mentor and family physician at the time said, "I will not let you become a doctor." For me, those words my mother spoke to me meant, you need to go out and make some money. Get a good job. You need to earn a decent living and not count on anyone and only count on yourself. And when I was told, so you're not going to do it by becoming a doctor, that just spoke to me. Now, did you want to be a doctor at the time? I did. Yeah. And I don't know if it was chicken or the egg. I've been, as much as then maybe I was motivated by money. Money is not my love language. It's what I do. Right. It's just not my love language. And I think that's something all listeners can hear loud and clear, is that if you make money your focus, you're going to make less and less of it. Absolutely. Yep, that's true. But it was that day that I decided, okay, well, I need to major in finance, because I figured that this was the place I was going to get screwed in life. Whether it was with investments or making money or what to do with money or contracts or whatever it is, it was just that day in college, my freshman year, that I decided, I don't know what I want to do, but if I'm going to get screwed, it's going to be in the way of finance and money. And
so
I'd like to have control over that.
That's interesting, because you're the first one ever I've heard pick a major based on, here's the area I don't want to get screwed in. Because I've got my oldest is in college right now, finishing up her freshman year. Finals are this week. And, she's passionate about her major. I don't think I was when I was in college. So I was kind of like you, like, what should we major in? But I've never heard anybody pick it like, yep, this is going to keep me from getting screwed later in life. So that's interesting dynamic.
And said differently, I hear a lot, people, going into college or encouraging their kids that they're not quite sure what they want to do. And by the way, I know this wasn't necessarily germane to what you wanted to talk about today, but by the way, anyone who goes into freshman year and knows what they want to do, right, I think they're liars. And or should explore life more.
It's a few and far between, that's for sure.
Be open, and life changes. And, all that to be said, I'm one of the very few people that I know that is actually using my major every day.
Yep. I agree with you. I'm definitely
rare.
Definitely not, majored in something completely different than what I do now. And I'd say most of my friends that are in, you get 30s, 40s, 50s, we've all changed jobs, changed majors, changed careers a number of times. So hopefully this next generation will get it right.
Right. Well, and then, and for kids going to school who don't know and decide to, major in business, that's kind of similar. It's a nice fallback, it's a good fallback. Maybe it's not of the media soundbite that it's going to help them for where they get screwed. But, for me, that was the truth of it at the time.
So how'd you move from finance to really architecting this perfect day? Where was the synergy between those two topics?
I guess maybe there's two questions. So the working title of the book, I majored in finance so I wouldn't get screwed, was really rooted in this concept of true wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And true wealth, this concept was given to me by a coach and mentor of mine, Lee Brower. He's written the Brower Quadrant. And it just embodies this idea that true wealth is not about financial assets. It's about the whole picture.
Right.
And so when I started to write this book, it ended up really morphing into something else. The second answer to the question is, it's kind of a funny picture. If I can just paint a story for you, paint a picture in your mind, is that it was a cold day here in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm from Charleston.
Okay.
So I'm from the East Coast. It was a cold day in January 2003. I know it was January because it was sort of beginning of the year, goal setting time, right?
Right.
And a business coach of mine, Claire Sturr, to whom I've dedicated Perfect Day, the book, to, said, Cokie, you gotta give me a day, and you gotta come in and do some goal setting. And let's take a look at what you want for 2003. And I was like, really? A whole day
to go?
Can't we do this over an hour? Can't we do it over lunch or something? I was full of piss and vinegar in 2003. I don't know how old I was.
So had you goal set before? It wasn't the idea of goal setting. Was it more just like, holy cow, a whole day? Or was it just more like, I don't really want to set any goals?
Oh, no. I've always been a goal setter.
Okay.
Always been a goal setter, but
you knew you were going to have to dig deep, spending a whole hour or a whole day.
Yeah, that was the thing for me. It was the time commitment.
Yep.
So I was entrenched with lifestyle deficit disorder at the time. Lifestyle deficit disorder, we talk about it in Perfect Day, is a term I've trademarked. And I hope you know it, because if you don't,
well, yeah,
I hope you never know it. But I feel like everyone knows what lifestyle deficit disorder is.
I think they do. So describe it to us or to the listeners.
It's just that feeling of living on a hamster wheel and just not having enough time, and just this feeling of you don't ever have enough time, you don't ever have enough money. You don't feel like you can delegate because you don't have the right people on your team, or you don't trust delegation because they're not going to do it as well as you'd like them to do it, or, that rugged individual.
So you just go round and round and round.
Yeah.
It's Groundhog Day.
It's Groundhog Day.
Yep.
So that's where I was in 2003, going into this entire day of goal setting woo-woo conference. I knew there were going to be, 30 to 40 people there. I kind of already had my goals already set out anyway. It was, I want to retire at 50 and have millions and millions of dollars. And I've got it all set. I know my plan. I know what I'm doing. Well, I didn't know my plan at all. Let me just say, I emerged that day with a perfect day written, that involved 3 children. I had no children at the time.
Okay.
That involved 3 children, a nonprofit called She Climbs, and me climbing the 7 summits of the world.
Whoa. Okay. No big goals there at all. So, okay.
A little different from I want my pot of money to look like this,
right,
and to retire at 50. At mountains, I'd never climbed.
But I think that's
life.
awesome, though. It sounds like it really made you tap into beyond the hamster wheel, beyond this just clock in, clock out, day after day type of thing.
Yes. And a bit of the point is you really do have to take the time to get into a different headspace, right, in order to create the life that you really want to see yourself living.
So prior to that, had you really focused or thought about goals outside of your business? Because the ones you just mentioned with climbing the summits and the nonprofit and the children, that's none of those are related to your practice or your business. So prior to that, had you done that? Had you taken time to cultivate goals and expectations outside of just your firm?
I had. I think that having dialed in more closely with Lee Brower via the strategic coach. I don't know if you're familiar with strategic coach. Strategic coach definitely helped me take the time.
Okay.
And set that time aside and get into that mindset. But I'll tell you, it still very much had a financial business feel, as opposed to really branching out into lifestyle. And life. And Lee and his quadrants really helped me explore that more with respect to really analyzing different areas of my life and where did I want more fulfillment.
Right. So the lifestyle, I think, is it's an interesting, not really interesting topic. It's one of my favorite topics because I feel that a lot of times the private clients I work with, they come to me for their business, and we work on a lot of business strategy things, but typically what I'm seeing that's limiting them in their lives, a little bit to do with business, but a lot of it's having to do with lifestyle. Either they're not doing like you did and really taking time to figure out what they need and what they want, what their goals are, or either they're just not dedicating enough time to fulfilling those goals. So did you find that when you kind of step back? And because I know years ago when I first started, in my career, decades ago, I guess I should say, when I first started my career, we didn't talk about that as much as I think we do now, the lifestyle component.
No. And let me tell you the appointment I just left from, one of my one-on-one consulting clients, who I call her a perfect dayer. She runs a very busy practice. She's a physician, and it's very similar to the situation of lifestyle and what we're talking about, and just the pursuit of that money piece, and you're growing this enterprise, and so it typically always becomes about the money. The conversation that I just left with this client was, you have all the confidence and you understand what the financial buckets look like,
right? And
you have to trust and have this faith in this idea of what you have and what you're growing is enough. Now, what's most important right now is that you focus on today and your wellness today. And I've spent the last 22 years getting clients to focus on this elusive date out into the future called retirement, which they may never see.
Right.
And this is a single mom of a 7-year-old who the focus now is on your lifestyle. The focus now is throw money at the problem. If you're too busy at work, then you got to hire somebody else.
Right.
The money piece will come and is there. You've got to protect your most important assets, which is your relationship with your child, the relationships of those closest to you, your aging parents.
Right.
And oh, by the way, we're type A and you're a physician and your practice is going to be fine. Just focus on what's most important now, today.
And I think that's a great point. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a little break. And then as soon as we come back, we're going to dig into that. We're going to talk about how we can focus more on today and making sure that money's not the main focus and that we're really trying to create a life we love. So we'll be back in just a minute. Hey everyone, it's Kristen. Be sure and visit my website at www.andregroup.com. That's www.andreegroup.com. And while you're there, be sure to download my white paper, Top 10 Reasons Your Business Isn't Growing Fast Enough. Now get out there and create your no limits moment. Welcome back, everyone, to the No Limits with Kristen Andre podcast. We are talking with Cokie Berenyi, author of The Perfect Day. And before the break, we were talking a little bit about really making sure that you are paying attention to your day and getting what you need out of it. So Cokie, what do you do in your own life to kind of push past limits and push past those things that really just seem to be making us go through the same thing day after day? How have you really created a lifestyle that you're enjoying as opposed to one that's running you?
Got it. I always want to say this too, author of Perfect Day and Perfect Day engineer, nothing is perfect. Okay.
Right.
And I am far from perfect. And having a perfect day is really about a mindset. And I think what I've created, because people come to me with the idea of perfect day like deer in the headlights of like, oh my gosh, perfect days are not achievable. They seem overwhelming. Well, the framework that I employ for myself and for clients, and it's everyone's for the taking. I do a 411 live on Facebook. That 411 is my tool and framework for anyone to create a perfect day in their life every single day.
Okay.
And it's about doing 4 things that get you closer to your perfect day vision before 11 a.m. It sounds kind of kitschy, but what it is it just it aims to sort of underwhelm individuals as to how can you do this? Because the idea of like, oh, how can I make today perfect? Well, today's not going to be perfect.
Right.
But here's what I can tell you. I can complete a 411 for myself, and I can show up at the airport and my flight be canceled.
And you've
and
got
I've still
stuff
had
done.
A perfect day.
Yeah.
And I've already had a perfect day.
So the before 11 a.m. I think is cool. So you're 4 things, they pick just 4 things that get them closer to their vision and say, all right, I'm putting them on my list or on my calendar before 11 rolls around.
So, everybody's life is different. And I know my energy spot is super early in the morning and before my day gets away from me. So I do think that 411 should happen, first part of the day, but everyone's life is different. And so you can manage it around whichever time you want.
Okay.
What is super important, I think, to share is that the 4 items are not items from your to-do list. Okay. Because it's not a perfect day for me to say, yeah, I got my taxes filed.
Right.
Yeah. It's no checking of boxes. The checking of boxes is almost after you do your 411.
Okay.
And that sort of brings the balance to your day. So 411 is very high level. What is going to get Kristen to her next vision of a perfect day? So Kristen, you may look out a year from today and say, you know what? A year from today, like aiming super high and hard.
Right.
What do I want to be true about my life financially? What do I want to be true about my life in my relationships, in my health, in my faith? What do I want to be true about my experiences?
Okay.
What do I want to be? What do I want to be true about how I'm contributing to leaving this world a better place than I found it?
So the 4 things are moving me closer to one of those. So not a checklist item, but just something to move me closer.
So in Perfect Day, we'll talk about the 4 areas that I like to focus on with individuals, and it's they're categories that we title core. And again, this is all thanks to Lee Brower, who's given me permission, and I use this as a True Wealth ambassador.
Okay.
But we basically, it's embodied in the types of assets that we have. We have core assets, we have financial assets, we have experience assets, and then we also have contribution assets. I believe that our ability to contribute is the greatest asset that every human being possesses.
And do you look at that? Is that where you kind of came up with the charitable involvement that you do? Is that what you're meaning by the contribute or contribution asset?
Sure.
Giving back?
Sure, it is. But it doesn't have to be on I started a nonprofit level.
Got it.
Okay. It's just whatever vision you may have. Like, again, if I were to walk you through the exercise and you were to say, maybe I'm light on what I contribute these days. And I'm not putting that on you, but I will tell you, and I love giving the statistic because I don't ever like saying always or never.
Right.
But 100% of the time when I take people through the Perfect Day process, 100% of the time, what people emerge with is they want to give back more.
That didn't surprise me. I think a lot of people, right, because that's what tends to slip off the calendar, or like you said, all the things we want to do versus what we take time to do is that urgent versus important piece. So that's giving back is hugely important, but I think we let it slide far too much.
So that Cokie piece of urgent and not important, or important and not urgent, that embodies 411. So,
okay,
a 411 task, one of your 4 things should be in each of those 4 categories of financial, core, experience, contribution.
Okay.
And the 4 things that you do before 11 a.m. shouldn't be start a nonprofit. It should be...
That might take a little longer than 11 a.m.
It should be momentum. It should be something that takes you 10 minutes.
Okay.
But it's completely out of the box. It's something you would not have done today. And you've done those 4 things. And you're gonna look up at 11, and then you're gonna get on your hamster wheel.
Right.
And you're going to get your to-do list at work done, your to-do list at personally done, and you're going to end your day and whether you got into a fender bender or, had a sideways conversation with your child's teacher at school, or with your child, you've had a perfect day because you've achieved these 4 things of really high actualization, and you're already closer to your goal.
I think that's a great point, because it, as I'm listening to you describe this, most of us feel good when we get some items checked off that to-do list, and we need to move our business goals and our life forward and take care of things we need to. But just, we feel that we've done something, that we've done things, but we may not feel accomplished. We may not feel that it brought as much value as we would want it to bring. For a person, is going to the grocery store really bringing value to my life? Probably not, but I got it done. So I love the idea of it just seems bigger to me. It seems more like it's making me think about the vision as opposed to the task. So,
and it's putting you first. So
right,
it's starting your day
right
with this high level stuff and not letting the minutia get you first. You're putting you first and what, the rest of your life should look like first.
And I feel like the minutia is where most of the time we get hung up, and where we're stuck a lot of the times, because we do. We described it as the hamster wheel or the rat race. A lot of us most of us have busy lives, and that's good. They're busy, they're full, and they're fun. So I always try to make sure that when I'm talking with a client or a friend or what have you, that I'm trying to get them to infuse some fun and some energy into their lives, not just checking things off the list. But as I'm hearing you describe this, that's energizing to me. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, how cool is this to take time every morning to think about big stuff, the contribution.
The Perfect Day path is full of energy. So when you're on it.
Yeah.
And it's super exciting. And I love the title of your podcast, No Limits. Did I get that right?
You did.
Limits.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. There's a couple overlays to the 411, and I think this sort of speaks to No Limits, but there's a sort of a spirit that overlays those 4 things. And it involves daring greatly.
Yep.
And I take that term from Brené Brown,
Mm-hmm.
whom I love, who, is just the foremost author and researcher on fear and vulnerability. And I think those are the limits that everyone should put down and
Yep.
push through. Is just when you're looking at your 411, you should really be vulnerable with yourself. And, when, one of your 411s in your core category may be being super vulnerable and having a conversation with somebody that you've been putting off. I mean, it could be a 4-minute conversation. So daring greatly should be this overlay to every single one of the 4 things you look at every single day. And I think daring greatly embodies an idea of no limits and embodies the idea of a perfect day.
And I agree with you completely. And so, No Limits, Perfect Day, and Daring Greatly, love Brené Brown. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. And as soon as we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that Daring Greatly. At the end of every episode, we like to issue a No Limits challenge to our listeners. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how you can dare greatly and live your No Limits moment. So we'll be right back. Hey everyone, check out my podcast, No Limits with Kristen Andre, on Tuesday nights at 7:30. We will tackle the things holding you back and the limits you set on yourself and equip you with some strategies to lead more intentional lives. Podcast launches every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. on facebook.com/Andre Group. That's facebook.com/ANDREE Group. We'll see you there. Welcome back, everyone, to the No Limits with Kristen Andre podcast. We are talking with Cokie Berenyi, author of The Perfect Day and our Perfect Day architect. So before the break, we were discussing your 411 and how to create your perfect day. So the 411, as you mentioned, was 4 things. Why don't you describe it? 4 things before 11 a.m. or whatever time you pick. So give us a quick recap of the 411.
So the 4 categories or 4 areas that really drive success and a perfect day mindset and a perfect day lifestyle for people is focusing on your assets, your financial assets, your core assets, which is health, value, relationships, faith, your experience assets, which are your capabilities and what you've learned, and your degrees and your networks, and your business assets or your business resources.
Okay.
And then you have your contribution assets. So your ability to contribute and give back, and whether it's volunteer or write a check, it's really more about contribution beyond dollars, in my opinion.
Okay.
But those 4 areas, financial, experience, contribution, and core, 411 is about doing something small each day in those 4 areas of your life before 11 a.m. that gets you to a perfect day vision. So, do a stretch goal of what you want your life to look like in a year in those 4 areas. Like, make it a stretch, make it only 51% possible.
Okay.
What does your life look like in those categories? And then what do you need to do today that takes 10 minutes towards your financial future that's going to get you closer to that year goal?
So I think you just outlined the perfect No Limits challenge. So like I mentioned, we want our listeners to join us on this journey and make sure that they are truly trying to bust through the limits in your life. So No Limits challenge for this week is to create your 411. Look at those 4 categories and figure out what you can do in each of them to bust through the limits you're setting and get it done, knock it out before 11 a.m. So we have a page set up on Facebook. Cokie, I mentioned this to you. It's #NoLimitsMoment. We'd love you to go there and join in on the conversation. Tell us about your 411. What are you doing? What are those goals, those visions that you're pushing for? And Cokie has been nice enough. If you go there and share with us, you said you have a planner that you'd
I have
offer.
a daily journal for
Awesome.
anyone. I'm going to dial into your page.
Awesome.
And with your permission, I'd love to be able to give feedback
Absolutely.
and guidance
Absolutely.
on everyone's 411 activities. Because again, they're not to-do listers, and there's nothing that really should take more than 10 or 15 minutes a day. But
Perfect.
For anyone who engages on your site, I'm happy to give them a 411 daily journal so they can keep track of their progress.
I think that would be awesome. And thank you so much for doing that. So we definitely want you guys to join us on hashtag No Limits Moment on Facebook. Join the conversation and let's let Cokie help guide us along this 411. So we thank you for joining us on the No Limits with Krista and Andre podcast, and we'll see you next time.